This week, I have been living with the Ford F-150 Tremor. And for the handful of years that this trim has been in the lineup in this generation and this configuration, you could argue it's been a bit of a different sell. Now, at a base cost of around $65,000, it's only about 5 or 6 grand more than a base Lariat. And with the Lariat, you can go with the FX4, have the all-terrain tires, and an off-road tuned pickup, or you can go with the Tremor for just a bit more and get 11 inches of ground clearance, get 33-inch all-terrain tires, side steps, and an off-road tuned suspension. However, many people who like what the Tremor has to offer would typically have to pay $11,000 for the 402A package. And at the end of the day, you're spending around 82 grand for a pickup truck that now you could cross-shop with the F-150 Raptor. Well, in 2026, Ford introduced a new package. In some ways, you could say it's a bit of a kind gesture to F-150 owners. And with this 402B package, it is a workaround, it is a shortcut to what you want out of this Tremor. So in today's video, we're gonna break down why you should or should not go with the 402B package. On paper, it's a no-brainer, but for some of you, the 402A might be the better choice. So let's begin with why you should choose the 402B, and it all begins with pricing. So for 2026, this package was introduced coming in at just below $4,000. Through this package, you get the Torsen limited slip differential and transfer case out of the F-150 Raptor, and there are some goodies for the interior that we'll talk about in just a minute. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Now with the 402A, and this was the only package available for a few years, this still comes in at right around $11,000. There is about a $7,000 price delta. With that 402A package, it does include the trailer, cargo bed, and the interior workstation packages. And that makes up about $2,500 of that price difference. So you're still gonna be paying around $2,500 to $2,700 more for add-ons, even if you go with the 402B. However, when you're looking at that price difference, you're saving $7,000. And with a starting cost of around 65 grand, $4,000 of add-ons only get you to around $70,000. At $70,000 here out of the Tremor, you could basically cross-shop that with a Lariat that's very well equipped, including the FX4. And like we talked about before at the beginning of this video, with the Tremor, you are going to have that ground clearance, the off-road tuned suspension, the all-terrain tires. So you're building off of what you already have here out of this trim that the Lariat is not going to give you. But now with that extra $4,000 that is being spent here, you get a pickup truck that's even more capable, that's more Raptor-like, and you're not getting close to $80,000. Aside from the off-road capability and the mechanical components that make up the F-150 Tremor with the 402B package, it's also the interior incentives that makes this a better value now. At one time, what you're seeing in the interior was only available with the 402A at $11,000. It's mind-boggling to think that what I'm experiencing here in this cab was a premium, because a base Tremor came with cloth seats. And okay, cloth seats are fine, but maybe you want the luxurious aspects that come along with the pickup truck at around $70,000 to $80,000. And let's dive into what the 402B package has to give us here for 4 grand. You're going to receive power adjustable heated and ventilated leather trim seats for both the driver and passenger, with the driver's side having 3-position memory for added convenience. Much like you are going to find out of a base Tremor, you're going to notice the orange accents found throughout on the dashboard, on the door panels, even for the seats themselves with the Tremor emblem stamped on the backs of the seats, and you're going to have orange accents that gives you a bit more definition to the overall interior and that make up the front seats themselves. I have to say this, I have not yet experienced the cloth upholstery out of the base Tremor, but these are really comfortable. They're plush, they're supportive. On longer drives, it's like sitting in a cloud. It really is truly comfortable. Also on top of this, through this package, you will have memory pedals. So that way you're gonna find yourself nice and comfortable here and find the right seating position for you. For the exterior, it is not as extensive as what we're experiencing right now for the interior and won't be as in-depth as the 402A, naturally. However, you are going to have body color match side mirror caps with turn signal indicators to go along with blind spot detection for added safety. They power fold, and you are going to have LED side view mirror spotlights, so that way when you are parking the F-150 late at night, you're going to have that visibility, you're going to have that safety more importantly. The last pro out of the 402B is that it can be paired with either powertrain, whether it's a 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6 like we have here today, producing 400 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque, or actually for the 2026 model, they dropped the horsepower figures to 382. Then also you can go with that naturally aspirated V8. So you have your choice there, and again, you're getting a great bang for your buck just going in this direction alone with the 402B. Getting into why you shouldn't choose the 402B, or maybe even the cons that come along with the 402B over the 402A, it begins once again with the exterior and maybe even some features that you're not going to get here out of a base Tremor and a Tremor with the 402B. Highlighting the differences between both packages, it begins with the 2-speed automatic all-wheel drive with mechanical locking 4-wheel drive. Now, for some of you, this might not even be necessary. You're just looking for a pickup truck that is going to be rugged, that can tow a boat or tow an RV, so maybe you don't need that particular feature, but I got to throw that out there. Then for the exterior, you're not going to have that modular front bumper. Gives you more of a Raptor-like aesthetic here. And then you also are going to have LED tail lamps out of the 402A. Again, minor feature, minor cosmetic feature. We're just focusing on the vanity at this point. Well, not necessarily a con or why you shouldn't choose the 402B. It's more of a buyer beware situation here where out of the 402A, you are going to have the bed utility, tow haul, and mobile office packages. Now, this isn't the end-all be-all where you're sitting there thinking, oh, I have to go with the 402A because that's already included into the pricing. Well, you can go with the 402B, and these packages are available for you to check off. And through these packages, you are going to have a power tailgate, so that way you can have a nice workstation here, and if you're at a construction site, you don't have to manually raise that tailgate back up for better convenience. You're also going to have a step that gets you into the bed of your pickup too, so again, accessibility, we like to see that. And then lastly, you're going to have the towing package, and if you have a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6, you have a towing capacity of around 11,000 pounds. You don't want that going to waste, do you? And then with the mobile office package, we have a workstation. We can set up a laptop, get a cup of coffee, a full-size meal. That's how big this table really is. And then the last two interior features that sets the 402A apart from the 402B is the Bang & Olufsen sound system, which amplifies the audio of your favorite music, and then the heated outboard seats for the second row. But ultimately, it boils down to what the 402B gives you, not only in terms of the package itself, but the options and the customizability, where you might not need the mobile office package. Maybe you don't want the bed and utility package, but you want that towing package. You have it all right there. Instead of paying upfront $11,000 and getting features you don't need, you have everything here that makes the Tremor a value option if you're someone who likes what an F-150 Raptor has to offer, but you don't want to spend over 80 grand. At $70,000 or even maybe 75 grand, depending on how many options you're including into this vehicle, this is a great deal over a well-equipped Lariat with the FX4. And you can go very far with that Lariat. You could spend 75 grand, believe it or not. So $75,000 out of a Tremor with the ground clearance, all-terrain tires, off-road suspension, then the optional mechanical components that makes up this vehicle, that makes it more like an F-150 Raptor, comes in at a price point that's much easier to stomach. And even though there are some downsides to choosing the 402B over the 402A, you are making some concessions, I think out of the 402B, you get the essentials. You might not have all the necessities and the I'd like to haves, but you have everything that makes this pickup truck just right in the lineup between the Lariat and F-150 Raptor, and you don't have to spend $11,000 to get what you really want, and that's what's most important at the end of the day. So ultimately, with the 402B, Ford made the Tremor exactly what it was designed to do. And that's make it a pickup truck that is great if you're someone looking for an F-150 Raptor, but you also want the on-road comfort, maybe even the subtleties of the exterior with a Lariat, instead of paying 82 grand for a pickup truck that's really designed for Baja use and extensive off-roading, whereas this can do it all under one roof. And as I've experienced during my week with the F-150 Tremor, this pickup truck is comfortable and also somewhat luxurious. So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of the 402B package. Does this package now make the F-150 Tremor far more appealing to you, or are you still going to go with the 402A? But guys, once again, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you guys next time.